to The Art of Adventure. This is episode 140, How to Talk Your Way into Anything. This is a solo round, and The Art of Adventure is the podcast that helps you travel the world, run your business, and embark on an epic quest. I'm your host, lead explorer, and guide, Derek Loudermilk. You can head over to derekloudermilk.com to check out the show notes for this episode and sign up for The Art of Adventure email newsletter, which gets you the latest articles, episodes, and monthly reading recommendations. This show is brought to you by Adventure Quest in Bali, coming this September 2016. This is a big adventure that I'm putting on, and the goal is to set ourselves up for dramatic self-realizations. I know that a lot of people want to spend more time in nature, and they're caught up in their lives in the cities, and they're not connecting as much as they want with the natural world. And even for myself, I grew up spending a lot of time camping in the woods. And so this is a chance for you to go to Bali to explore the secret canyons and waterfalls and rainforests and volcanoes with a week-long small group program that I'm going to lead for listeners of The Art of Adventure. So if you want to know more about this, it's going to be so awesome. Drop me a line, derek@derekloudermilk.com, or you can check out more info on the Adventure Quest webpage, derekloudermilk.com/adventurequest. On to today's episode. I'm really excited about this. A lot of people have been asking me about this recently. I'm calling it How to Talk Your Way into Anything, and it's about talking your way into your dream job. It's about getting first-class seats on flights. It's about getting free hotel stays or people to throw you parties, or for me, talking my way into grad school. So there's a lot of things that you can get if you simply ask for them. And part of that, which I won't really cover that much in this episode, but part of it is knowing what you want and knowing what you need, and then having the courage to ask for it. And so I'll give you some challenges, some activities at the end of this episode to practice asking for things and figuring out what you need and building up your courage muscle to ask for things you might not otherwise. Central story. Here's the main story that I'll start off with. And this is how I talked my way into grad school. Back when I wanted to become a PhD scientist and eventually a professor, I applied to grad school one time and was not accepted to any of the schools that I wanted to go to. I was applying specifically to study extreme microbiology, and there's only a few places in the world that are the best schools for this. And I narrowed my list the second time around down to 5 schools and gave myself a year in advance to talk my way into these grad programs. And this consisted of contacting all the professors that I would want to work with by email and then by phone, and then eventually in person, flying up to the school where I eventually attended, Montana State, to meet with them all in person. And of course, I had taken the GRE, which is the entrance examination, and I had an average score, good enough to get in, not good enough for them to automatically say, this guy's a genius, we want you to come and join our grad school. So I started with very little things like researching each person, each professor that I wanted to talk to, so I would understand their work. Then when I emailed them, I made sure to have a subject line that would cause them to open the email, or at least them to notice. So I was testing different email subject lines. I was writing short, concise emails that are 3 sentences long. Here's me, I'm Derek. Here's what I like about your work. I'm interested in talking to you. Can we do that? And then they'd write back and say yes. And then we'd set up a time, and then we'd get on the phone and we'd sort of talk about how I might fit in as a grad student. All this is to say that by the time I flew to Montana to meet with these professors, they knew who I was and they knew what sort of projects I would be working on under them if I came there as a grad student. I had already contacted all the office staff in the microbiology department, so they knew me by name, and I talked to them on the phone, and they, since we had built a relationship, they were willing to give me information about decisions and help me out as much as they could. And so before my application was ever processed through the standard route, the professors and the office staff had put in a word with the department head and the people who make the decisions. This is a guy we want in our department. And all it took was I flew up there, met with some people, and the next day I had the offer of acceptance in my inbox. And so I never went through the front door. I never went through the standard application process. All I did was make them believe that they wanted me in their department. And you can do the same thing with jobs. I've never gotten a job by applying for a job. It's only ever been through asking people if they know of suitable jobs or learning about a job and then finding the right person who makes the decision. There were jobs that I decided not to accept that I networked my way to talking with the CEO of IDEO, which is the creative advertising group out in San Francisco that, I would really love to work for. And that was not a front door way of looking for a job either. So whenever you want to find a job, and I feel I need to get back on track here, whenever you want to get a job, it's your responsibility to understand the requirements of the job, come up with a plan for how you would fit in. And you can do that by talking to the people that already work there and the people that are hiring for the job. And that involves getting in touch with them, getting on the phone, taking them out to lunch, and fully understanding what a job might be. If it's your dream job, it's worth doing a lot of background for. And it also gives you great negotiating power for when you get offered the job. You might have a really good idea of what the job will entail, maybe even more so than the hiring managers themselves. And you can negotiate an extra $40,000 a year just because you know it so well. When I say talk your way into anything, I don't necessarily mean you're getting something for free, but a lot of cases that's true. For example, you could ask for free parking or free refills, or you could ask for someone's phone number. And this is one of your challenges, is to pick 3 things that you could ask for free and that you would never normally ask for, that make you feel uncomfortable asking for them simply because people don't normally do that in your culture or your country. So you can ask for a cheaper price at a restaurant. You could ask for free coffee at Starbucks. Whatever it is, this is one of your challenges, and I'd love to have you report back to me. Ask for something that you feel uncomfortable asking for free and see how people respond and see if anyone actually says yes, because a lot of times no one's ever asked. And so they might actually decide, yeah, sure, I want to be helpful today, or I like you, I want to help you out, and give you what you're asking for. And it's so crazy that sometimes it works. So you're not always going to get things for free, but you might be able to circumvent paying for a lot of things by coming up with alternative solutions that make it a win-win scenario for everyone. So for example, I've been able to trade in the past free luxury hotel stays or free transportation, train trips, flights, all those kinds of things in exchange for some mixture of publicity, me talking about places I've been on the podcast or blog, or Instagramming about it, or telling other people about it. They're being essentially compensated in another way, but talking your way into something, you figure out what you want, and then you figure out what you have that you can offer, whether it's, I can offer you connections or insights. I often offer introductions to people as an easy way of helping them out. I can offer them publicity, all kinds of things that are outside of the monetary system. Essentially, we're talking the barter economy here, but you come up with solutions that get people to feel like they're benefiting and you're benefiting. And this is the don't take no for an answer sales philosophy. Basically, that forces you to think creatively. If my first proposition is met with a no, that's not necessarily a no, I'm never going to do business with you, but no, that those terms aren't what I'm interested in. And so it forces you to think of other terms. What incentives can I throw in? Maybe less money now, more money later, like they do in baseball contracts with bonuses and things like that. There's all kinds of creative solutions that you can come up with that help you get what you want. So now I'll throw in a couple book recommendations. There is Getting to Yes and Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. The second one is by Robert Cialdini, and that's probably the best book on learning to talk people into getting what you want. So talking your way into getting what you want isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's good for you, obviously, but sometimes people think, oh, other people are going to be losing. And you just have to remember, people aren't going to do what's not in their best interest to do economically or what they don't want to do. So what you're doing is presenting them with things where their interests and wants and needs align with your own. Some more examples of talking my way into things, some more stories you might like to hear. I've talked a bit before about the party that they threw for my birthday in Bali. There's a monthly villa, mansion, house party, pool party with a DJ and dancing that several hundred people attend. And a couple years ago, 2015, for my birthday, I asked if they would throw the party for me for my birthday, on my birthday. And in addition, give half of their profits to a charity of my choice. And they all said yes. And this was great for everyone because everyone wanted to make a big party for charity. And it also worked, that I was able to provide the villa, the location for the party. And they brought the DJ and the food and all the stuff and organized it and sold the tickets. And it worked out well for everyone. The same thing happened this year when I was in Belgium. I didn't know anyone. I was speaking at the Travel Storytelling Festival, and I was able to get, maybe 30, 35 people out for my birthday. We were also donating that to a charity from someone at the festival. And so just figuring out solutions that make everyone happy and also help you get what you want. Right now, I'm working on a project to speak at a bunch of co-working spaces in St. Louis. I've just moved to St. Louis, Missouri for a little bit in the United States. And there's several co-working spaces here, actually. It's a surprising hotspot for startups and co-working, and it's a good place for digital nomads, surprise, surprise. And my goal is to get free co-working space in membership in exchange for giving workshops. And so the first thing I did was simply research all the various co-working spaces and see which ones might fit the best, including the one that has a podcasting studio included in the membership where I could go teach people about podcasting. That's a perfect match. And then the second thing is not necessarily hiding behind an email, because I sent them emails and I wasn't getting much of a response. So I called the co-working spaces up, and as soon as I got someone on the phone, they were really excited about it. And so as soon as you get a personal connection, email is probably the easiest way of getting in touch and probably the easiest way for someone to ignore you. If you're calling them on the phone, they get to see who you are as a person, and you get to build a much more personal connection. And then if you actually go there, so as soon as I actually go to these co-working spaces and shake hands on some deal we make, that's when we find mutually agreeable situations. And for me, getting free membership to a co-working space is going to give me access to all the people that work there and give me a new social group, while they get a free $1,000 podcasting workshop or a free charisma workshop or whatever it is. Here's another challenge for you. Next time you want something and it involves contacting someone that you don't know, I challenge you to pick up the phone. You might send an email at first to pep the way, and they may or may not see it. You don't always know if they've opened your email. But get on the phone or go see them in person and ask for what you want and pitch them, the plan that you've come up with that you think is beneficial for everyone. And it works many times more often in your favor than a simple email. So here's another challenge for you. It's to ask for what you want in 4 different ways. And your likelihood of getting what you want goes from 50% to 60%, 70% to 90%, the number of times you ask. So if you get a late fee on your credit card bill, or if you want to lower your rent, or if you want to, lower your cable bill or whatever it is, you can call the company, the person who's in charge, and present your proposed case, whatever it is. You're a loyal customer. You can help them out, whatever, reason that they have for helping you. Maybe they want to keep you as a customer, like in the case of credit cards, and you ask them, hey, I'd like you to waive that fee. And then you just sit and see what they think. And maybe they'll say no the first time. Maybe they'll say yes, and you've already won. And then they'll say no, and then you just ask again. And they'll say no, and then you ask again, and they'll say no, and you ask again. You have to ask 4 times to put your odds up to 90% of getting a yes. And it's crazy because people are willing to say no a couple times, and then eventually they will say yes. And so this is a challenge for you to go try on your own. And I'd like to hear how this goes for you. So you can either leave a comment about this challenge in the show notes or as a comment on iTunes. So let me know how your success goes asking for what you want 4 times instead of just once. And you'll get a lot of no's. And this will teach you that getting a no is okay. You will have to accept no's sometimes. Like the Rolling Stones said, you can't always get what you want, but you will get what you want more often if you're asking for it more often. Here's another story. I've been able to lower my rent a couple of times in different ways. One time I agreed to pay 6 months up front for a 15% reduction in rent. And so that ended up saving us several $100s over those 6 months. Another time I was asking about prices for rent, and I think I simply said, what's your flexibility on price? And they simply lowered the rent without me having to actually ask them to lower the rent. I think because, maybe they had picked a number that was on the high end of the spectrum, hoping that we would just say yes. And when we asked them about flexibility, they just dropped the price, and that was good enough for us. So then we agreed on it. So you never know when piping up about something will save you some money or help you get a better deal or whatever it is. And sometimes people will throw in things for free. I was at a jewelry store in Arizona, and we made friends with the owner, talking to him about his business. And then when it came time to leave, we wanted to ship some items home. And he said, I'll just take care of that. His assistant was like, we got to weigh it and figure out how much it's going to cost. And he said, you know what, I'll just do it for you. Partly because we had just established a nice friendship and we were valuable customers at that point. I've just told you several stories and examples and some of the ways of how this works, but there's nothing better than going out there and trying it yourself. You're going to learn 10 times more from asking for things, trying to talk your way into things and figuring out what doesn't work than you are from me telling you about it. So I really want to encourage you and invite you to go see what kind of things you can make happen. Even if you think no one's going to say yes, I want you to go out there and try to ask for it, and ask for it several times and get used to hearing a no and enjoy the times when they say yes. And if you want more help with this, you might know that I do some personal coaching and some business mentorship. I've helped people get their dream jobs. I've helped other kids get into adults, whatever we are, mid-20s. Other people get into grad school or get jobs on professional cycling teams, whatever it is you're looking for. If you want my help, feel free to drop me a line and I can do a one-off session with you. Or if it's a good fit, we could always work together as a coaching situation. So you can just email me if you're interested in that, Derek@derekloudermilk.com. I am almost full on coaching clients, but I've got room for a couple more at this moment. So yeah, if this kind of thing sounds fun to you, and it's actually really fun for me to talk my way into stuff and make everyone happy, because that's the ultimate objection, is not just to get as much value from yourself. It's not about hoarding value. It's about making solutions that work for everyone. So really, you're coming up with ways to add value to everyone's life, including your own. That's all for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. Now it's your turn to go out there and be adventurous.